Welcome to the Insomnia Project. Sit back, relax, and listen as we have hopefully a mundane conversation about, just about anything that'll just help you to calm, chill, and who knows, maybe even fall asleep. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Marco Timpano, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome back someone who most of you know and love. And for our new listeners, listen to our episodes because you'll know and love her too. Nidhi Khanna, welcome back to the Insomnia Project.
Hi, Marco. It's so good to be back.
Everyone's been asking about you, and so just to set the record straight, you're always welcome on the Insomnia Project. There's no rift between us.
Never. Just life took me in a little bit of a different direction.
And allow me to say I want to hear about it, even though I know about it, because I know our listeners will want to know about it. And
Well, it's so nice to hear your dulcet tones of the intro again. I miss that intro. But it's really nice to be back and to see you. And we actually haven't seen each other in a while because you were away and I was away, and then a bunch of life stuff happened.
And you're going away.
And I'm going away. And so I feel like there's so much to catch up on.
I think we should start because listeners, along with yourself and myself, there was another team member that was vital in our show.
Yes.
And, if you feel like talking about it, I just want to quickly mention it to our listeners.
Yeah. Oh, well, my little Xena, the warrior princess, she passed away on New Year's Eve, 2021, so just a couple of months ago, unexpectedly.
I'm so sorry, Nidhi.
Thank you. It was, but she was a playful, beautiful, energetic. Look, still felt like she was a puppy at 10 and a half.
She loved me. That's all I have to say.
You.
She loved me. And when we were recording the podcast at your place, she was having the best time. And so she's been an important key member of the podcast. And I remember her fondly with so much fond memories. And I want our listeners to know that we loved Xena very much, and she loved all of you.
Yeah, thanks, Marco. And I'm sure we have some of her whines on some of the episodes for sure.
Of course. You know what? It was the scratching of her nails as she chased. We used to throw like a boomerang or a banana thing.
It was something. It was something.
And I remember throwing it once, and you're like, "Oh no!" And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "We're recording. She's gonna just keep bringing that back to you." And I'm like, "Well, whatever." But she was such a delight.
She was a darling.
It's so interesting because I know a lot of listeners go through things as they listen to our podcast, and just know that we also share in those things that you go through here on this side. And you are not alone, at least not with your insomnia. So just know that we are here with you.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad you're here with us, Nidhi.
Me too.
Okay, so tell us. You've been working on a project, and we've kind of given hints, and that project has come to fruition. So tell us.
Okay. Did I not talk about this before?
You never talked. No, not about
the project.
What became.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, as you know, Marco, I've spent a couple of episodes when I've been here talking about my passion for diving in the different places I've been, particularly Bonaire and the certifications. And so through that experience, I actually co-founded a company called Dive Tripping, which is we do sort of like apparel and accessories for scuba divers, and it's really fun and a lot that is geared towards women too, like women divers, but also we have unisex. We have some really good T-shirts that you've seen, and some.
I bought a T-shirt, and can I just tell you something? I'm very. Okay, look, it's going to sound self-serving because you're my friend and whatnot, right? But I would tell you, and I've told you things that I'm like, I would like this in another color.
Yes, yes, you have.
But the material is so soft.
It's soft,
and for me, okay, so sometimes you get material that's soft for a T-shirt, right? And I find this with bamboo and hemp stuff. And then I wash it, and it's the worst thing I've ever worn in my life. It becomes
kind of pilly
and starchy
roughy,
and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so yours was so soft when I first got it. I was like, okay, this is exciting because I love a soft T-shirt.
Yeah.
And I've washed it. I've worn it into the ocean. I've taken it everywhere, and it's still soft like I first got it. And it just feels good when I wear it. So
That's
I'll just say that'll be my sort of testimonial on it.
Thank you.
And And yeah.
I appreciate that. And yeah, it's been a labor of love. It's been really fun. We've really tried to showcase that women can dive as a group on their own with their buddies, but also that there's so many supporters of like fun gear out there. Like normally, honestly, Marco, I would go into these dive shops and you want to get a shirt, just a normal dive shirt. Do you know how many of the shirts are like either really sexist?
Oh, really?
Yeah, like a lot of them are you've either got these like mermaid women on it, or you've got like sayings that are inappropriate or things like that, or they're not meant for necessarily women's bodies, and so as a result, it's like you're just wearing kind of a not so great fitting piece of clothing. So it was fun to kind of develop it and go, okay, what would I want to wear?
Sure.
And then just make stuff for myself, which is amazing.
Are you trying to shift the diving culture to reflect the serious women who dive versus the sort of, the sort of skateboard culture that's there trying to fit the place of diving? Is that fair to say, or am I just...
No, I think there's something in what you're saying.
Okay.
I think it's also more... I think what started off as us thinking about it from the perspective of women was really also now about dive lifestyle and what that means for a generation of divers who might be diving differently than generations before, where it wasn't just like, okay, I'm going to go with my partner and my kids, or, you have people who are like me and have the ability to go in. It's like, okay, I want to go. I want to have a good time. I want to feel like I am doing something that's meaningful and having an experience that's not an all-inclusive experience.
Right.
And so we're also doing trips and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. It's fun. It's fun and exciting, and
where the focus is diving and not a resort with a little tack on. You can go diving for 4 hours, right?
Yeah. Or you can go diving, but you're in this kind of feeling of, okay, now I got to stay in this place. I'm beholden to this one dive center or this dive community where you can actually have, like, we rent really nice villas. We've had private chefs come in and stuff like that.
Wow.
I know now I feel like I'm back on the bougie episode.
I love it. Listen, people love the bougie episode, so please let's dive into that as well. But before we dive into that, I'm just using the word
Keep
now like
using
crazy.
it.
What is the website? And just so our listeners, in case you're just chilling, don't worry, it's going to be, all the links will be in our show notes. But what is it for any listener who wants to know it now?
So it's divetripping.com, but dive-tripping.com.
Great.
And
your social
check
media?
us out at dive_tripping.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So we'll have all that. But okay, so now I need to know, you dive.
Yes.
You see all the underwater marine life. Then you come back to the surface. It's a beautiful day. You go from the boat to a private villa, and you're eating like a champ.
Yeah.
Tell me this.
Yeah.
What's this? This sounds amazing.
I mean, essentially, it's wanting to have just really good experiences. So for example, when I was in Bonaire, we had this private chef who came a couple of times and did a tapas spread for us, did a private meal for us, or we would order in from these places, and everything was taken care of. Like, we had organized everything right at the beginning, so it was just this constant feeling of true being cared for and not having to worry about anything.
I see.
And so you come back from diving, it's like, okay, I want to just chill and not do anything, or I want to go out to the town, or everyone was just really chill. We were like 8 of us, and we had such a great time. So
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let's say we have listeners who are listening right now.
Yeah.
And
I love how this is now a plug for dive tripping.
No, but let's assume that there's listeners, and you pick the city anywhere in the world, okay? And there's five women who are adventurous.
Yeah.
And they're celebrating a milestone birthday. And they're like, you know what we want to do? Something out of the box. We've never been diving, but we want to have an experience where we dive or figure that out, and then we have a private catered meal afterwards. Could they contact Dive Tripping and you would set that up for them and make it happen?
Yeah, and so part of the part of the thing is that we also are a part of that experience.
So you would go with them and be like, we will handle this. We'll laugh with you. We'll cheers with you, but we'll make sure that you're taken care of, and we'll make sure that the experience is highlighted.
Yeah, or we could even be kind of there, but maybe not staying in the same place. If people want privacy or whatever,
Sure.
so we'll take care of everything. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're heading for it. I mean, we wanted to launch this back in 2020, but of course that was a bit of a
But you've been working on it.
sidetrack.
You've been working on it ever since, and
Yeah.
I was privy to a lot of, the early on designs and where you landed, and it's just been a labor of love.
It's such a labor of love, and really, I mean, it's one of those things where one day, who knows? I might be on a Caribbean island or on another island
Sure.
or something, and just doing this. So
What are your top, say, 5 or top 3 places you haven't dived yet but are on your list?
I really want to go to Thailand.
Okay.
I really want to check out the Great Barrier Reef
Sure.
because I feel like, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
How long you can check that out.
Right.
I've also heard that the Philippines is pretty amazing
Oh,
for
wow.
diving,
Right.
so I would like to see that. Okay, that's already 3. But also, people say the Galapagos Islands are amazing. It's a little bit colder water, but that would be pretty awesome as well.
Yeah.
So those are kind of, I would say, my top right now.
If someone's listening and they think they have a barrier to learning how to dive, what would you say to them?
That's a good question,
Yeah,
Marco.
every once in a while.
I know. Look at you. I think people have an expectation or an image in their mind about what it must be like. Like I've heard people say, "Oh, I'm very claustrophobic," or "I have asthma," or and I think, and maybe this is the yoga teacher in me talking right now, but I think it's about reframing that image, and it is ultimately an underwater meditation.
Oh,
And if you can get to a place in your mind where it's like, okay, just try it. Just try it. You might be surprised. If you like snorkeling, try it. If you don't have to go so deep. Sometimes people think that you have to go down to these huge depths in order to see things.
that's what I thought.
No, it's like at 20 feet, you can see such great things. And sometimes even more than what you can see it at further depths. It's just a different marine life and a different, for example, if you want to see rays, you want to be more shallow than deep, for example.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
you can gauge it to your comfort level when you first
Completely.
start out.
completely.
Oh, wow.
And I would say also, if you know someone like me who loves to dive, go with them and go do like a certification or do a Discover Scuba type of thing and ask for them to be part of the group as you go diving or something like that. And
Isn't that what you did?
yeah, so my friend and co-founder, Lisa, really mentored me in terms of learning how to dive. And I don't think I would be as good of a diver this quickly had it not been for her giving me the tricks and the tools, because you can learn something from an instructor, but you're learning it in such an incremental time. Right. You only actually absorb it once you start doing it on your own, right? So the beauty about the way I learned to dive is I took the course and then we were shore diving by ourselves. So we weren't on a boat. We weren't with a guide. It was like the two of us. And it took, it's a testament, I think, to our friendship and how long Lisa has known me for her to trust enough that I would be able to get this. And then I learned really quickly from that. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Your diving journey has been recorded and archived on our show.
I know.
From when you were first
it's
talking about
true.
it to today, where you're an expert diver.
Yeah. It's so funny, hey?
It's great.
Wow.
And you mentioned you're a yoga teacher now too.
Yeah.
And I met you because of yoga, because you and my wife did yoga together.
Have we told that story before?
I don't know, but tell it again. We've got listeners who listen all the time who are new, who are like, I'm not going to listen to the back episodes because I don't have time. But
well, and if this is something you've heard before, perhaps this is the moment that you're starting to have your eyelids sort of get heavy.
yeah,
So when was it? Must have been oh gosh, 10, 15 years ago?
At least, yeah, because we started the podcast in 2014, and it was years before that.
Yeah. So I used to go. I discovered yoga through, what's now Moto Yoga, but used to be Moksha Yoga. So I used to go to a yoga studio, hot yoga studio, just near my apartment, and Amanda was teaching. And so I would take some of her classes and a couple of 6:30 in the morning classes, etc. And I remember so vividly my first impressions of Amanda, because she would, and it's funny what you were saying about the feedback that your person had about yoga, Amanda being really excitable on some of the podcast episodes, because my first impression of her was the opposite, where she was this really calm yoga teacher. And at the end, I remember one day we went into class and it was still dark because the sun was coming up, and she had put candles out everywhere, like in the front of the class.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the yoga class, and at the end she sang like a chant of some kind. And it was really beautiful. I was like, oh, she's got a great voice, that one.
Right.
Anyways, we ended up talking, and so she was really my introduction into yoga in so many ways. And through that, oh my gosh, I think I had got laid off from a job or something, and she had put on Facebook, oh, I'm doing this show at the Fringe, and we need a stage manager. And I was like, hey, I could do that. So, and that's when I met you.
Right.
Is during that show. And that's how we met, right?
Yeah, that's how we met. We met somehow like that.
Yeah.
And I just remember meeting you and thinking, oh, this person's really cool. Like this person.
Really?
Yeah, I just remember thinking.
It's like probably the opposite of what I was feeling.
Well, because when you have a partner, there's some friends that they have that you click with or you don't. Yeah. Right? And you're like, okay, whatever, go have fun with them. I have no desire to hang out with them.
Yeah, they're kind of rancid and you don't want to be around.
Kind of, right? But then when there's the ones that you're like, oh, I like this person, you're kind of like, oh, like this is a friend of my spouse that I enjoy hanging out with. So I'm like, anytime it's like, why don't we go for dinner with Nidhi? And I'm like, yeah. Or why don't we invite Nidhi to the party, right? And it's always like, yeah, because I knew that there was something about you that I always thought was really cool, for lack of a better word. You just were like, you're one of those
easygoing.
Well, there's this thing that I resonate with, and it's the type of person who can stand in a corner and not say a word and be the most interesting person in the room. And you fall in that category for me. Yeah, so it's kind of like you want to talk to them because they're not trying to be the life of the party, but they are. Yeah. They're not trying to be, funny, but they are. They're not trying to be magnanimous, but they are, just by being themselves. And I always found that with you.
Oh, Marco.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to, blow sunshine anywhere, but I'm just trying to say the truth. That's one of the things.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's definitely been. I think you're right, and I think you're right. Who am I to say that?
It's her bougie episode.
Yeah, it's my bougie episode. But I do think that authenticity is sometimes a hard thing to find in the industry that I was in and that you're still in, where it's almost. You're so used to being around people who are constantly wanting something and evaluating whether or not you can get them. Is this person going to help me get to what I want, or are they not?
Right.
And so there's this constant evaluation, and I just never bought into it.
Sure.
I was just sort of like, whatever. And probably career-wise, it would have been better to buy into it, but as a person, I was like, eh.
I wish you'd come back to performance.
Who knows? Maybe one day. I was talking to this wonderful actor. Her name's Caroline Fay, and she and I was working on a theater production that she did in 2005.
Okay.
And I had seen her on LinkedIn or something, and she had made an announcement, and I wanted to get in touch with her again. And a couple of days ago, we talked for the first time, and I said to her, Caroline, one thing that I remember is because when you did this back in 2005, it was the first time that you were coming back to stage after so many years, and she's this awesome jazz singer, blues singer.
Awesome.
And anyways, I remember her words where she was like, who says you have to do everything and achieve everything in your 20s?
Right.
Right? Who says that the beauty about performance is actually the fact that you need performers of every age and at every point of life, right? So who says that you have to be an actor at 20 and 30?
Sure.
Like, why can't you start your career at 60?
Exactly.
So
it's not a no. It's just like you who knows? We might see you.
You know, I've been really enjoying you might see me. Who knows? I've been really trying to find. I've been enjoying like moderating like panels
I bet you're
and
amazing.
facilitating things like that.
I bet you're amazing. I mean, I know you're amazing. Like,
it's fun, and for things that are close to my heart, like women's issues,
Sure.
and been doing a lot of. Yeah, it's been really interesting to kind of find my voice, and of course, it's because of this podcast that I feel comfortable.
Really?
Well, I mean, think about how much we had to talk about
Right.
nothing, and there were times when we were doing those beginning episodes where we were trying to do 3 or 4 or 5 episodes at once, and it was
That's
like,
right.
what do we talk about now? What do we talk about now? And I think it just made me a better conversationalist when I had to be, and less afraid to go into stream of consciousness a bit
Right.
and trust that it's all there. Whereas I think with performance, because you're with a script, you're with even with improv, I was never very comfortable with, because there's also always this expectation of where is the story going.
Right.
But as we both know, sometimes these stories go nowhere here.
It's true.
And there's something really, like, to not be attached to the outcome of these anecdotes is really special.
One of my favorite things that you would say on episodes, and I try to emulate it sometimes, but I hear your voice when I dispel my own opinion as could be interpreted as something as advice, and you're always like, no one, like, you know, you always give the disclaimer of like, whatever we say on this podcast should not be taken serious at all. Please consult all medical or professionals in the fields, with the exception of diving, where I think you have. And
I
yoga.
don't know about that, but you know what 2 of my favorite episodes were?
Yeah.
Or episode, like, types.
Sure.
One was when we would do the cities,
Oh, right.
like the random cities. Right at the beginning, we would just look at our demographics and say, there's someone from, I can't even remember.
Ann Arbor was our first
Ann
one.
Arbor, that's right. Ann Arbor. We were like, okay, let's do 10 facts about Ann Arbor. And then the other one that's one of my favorites is when we did the, we did like it was almost like a competition of who
Had the most boring prime minister.
Yeah, the most boring prime minister.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can always do that. We have so many boring prime
I
ministers.
mean, I know.
I don't even remember. I think Tupper was one of our prime ministers. I don't remember.
I don't even remember. I know. But how have you been keeping?
You
How
know,
has it
Nidhi,
been like you've been...
Look, I don't want to. I got foot issues, folks, and I
know.
don't want to go into it, but I've got some foot things I'm dealing with. So, you
Well,
know,
we're both flat-footed. Fun fact.
we're both flat-footed, and if you're flat-footed, I'm going to say this: get some arches, some pro arches.
Now
Speak to
people's
a
eyelids are
professional.
really
I know.
going down.
But like, I'm flat-footed. I've always been flat-footed, and I walk a little bit like a duck.
No, I walk like a duck too. This is interesting because I'm doing a 30-day challenge at the yoga studio, and I realize like I'm still wobbly. So here's also a fun fact: like
Okay.
to do yoga, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, I don't balance well, and I'm not flexible, and I'm not this. Listen, none of that applies.
Okay.
I'm a yoga teacher, and I cannot balance for the life of me.
My tree pose is the worst. I hate tree pose because I cannot lift my leg up high enough to put my leg against my thigh. I always have to have the unsupported leg, the toe touching the ground,
Yeah,
because
but that's great. That is a tree pose.
okay, there you go.
That is a
it's
tree pose.
It's not the nicest tree you'll ever see, but that's as
Listen.
far as I do it. And Nidhi, this is one thing I got to say to people, and I just want your opinion
Tell
as a
me.
yoga teacher.
Tell me.
Sometimes you're doing yoga, and it's like, you know what? And now I'm just going to lie in Shavasana for the rest of the class, and
Yeah.
I don't care
Yeah.
because that's just where I need to be, and that's fine too, right?
I do that.
Oh, you do
Yeah.
you do that?
Yeah.
Like in the middle, it could be in the middle of the person's class, and you're like, I'm done. I'm just lying like on the ground until this is over. I've
Yeah.
done that before.
I mean, there's also been times where I'm like, I don't really like this pose, so I'm just going to go into child's pose.
Good.
Sometimes I'll just change it up. I'll modify. Like, who cares? I think people take yoga too seriously.
I agree.
And I think people forget that these postures are just one aspect of yoga.
Right.
And that there's a whole life around it. But also, like, I love finding humor. Like, today I was in a yoga class and the teacher made a joke. And I was the only one who was laughing.
Right.
But it's like, what? People are so serious. It's like, find the humor in it.
I don't have time for the ultra serious.
No, I know.
And
I got to make my pose look perfect. What's perfect?
exactly. It wasn't until Amanda said to me, if you want to lie in Shavasana at any point, just do it. It's not a problem. I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah.
Yeah.
That mat, whatever you do on that mat is your business, and you do it whatever's right for you. So I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah. And sometimes I'll have once in a while you get that yoga teacher who's like trying to tell you, like, you've got to move your foot like this. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go in child's pose because I'm not gonna deal with this.
And I can tell you, as a yoga teacher, it does not offend.
There you go.
You're not. If it offends, then get yourself another yoga teacher.
Good. What about what people wear to a yoga? I feel like this is not talked enough about.
Yeah, tell me. Okay,
so
let's get into this.
First of all, I don't like you too close to my mat.
Agreed.
Okay, so keep your distance if you're doing yoga with me. And I understand sometimes with spaces you've got to be close, but I don't need your foot in my face. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. I like a spongy, thicker mat.
Yes. Okay.
That's what I like.
Yep.
And I like to wear stylish and comfortable clothes.
What does stylish and comfortable mean?
I like to wear Lululemon yoga clothes, and I know it
who's
sounds
bougie now?
I know. And I have a problem with the organization because the leader had said some horrible things, but I still like their clothes.
Yeah.
And I know it's not like organic cotton or whatever, and like, it's not the like yoga.
I wear Joe Fresh.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
please, there's no judgment here.
Okay. So that's what I like to wear, and so be it, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into the tights and the stretchiness. I think for women it's interesting, right? Do you wear the crop top? Do you wear at least because I do hot yoga, it's you're definitely sweating.
Right.
And so, it's funny. What I find funny or interesting is, like, you can tell when people are kind of fashionable with their... And I guess this is what you're saying, is that you like it to be a little bit fashionable.
I like it to be a little bit fashionable. I like to have my things in my space and kind of don't pressure me. I like to have the really thin towel.
Oh, you like that?
I like because I like the way it looks, and I like that it's like.
Oh, I see.
I don't just have any old towel. I have that microfiber thin towel that becomes a cape.
Well, now they have mats so that you don't need that towel, like the cork, like thicker material mats that are more like repellent, I guess, water repellent, so that you don't need both that and the towel. But I like my blocks.
I like blocks too. I like blocks. I don't like. I kind of wish blocks weren't all in some rancid, mangy area that everybody has to go and run and get. I don't love that aspect.
You can bring your own blocks.
I know, too much to carry.
That's true. I bring an eye pillow.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah, this has been a game changer. It's been a recent thing because I'm like, oh, I have this eye pillow. Why am I not bringing it with me?
Amanda made a bunch of eye pillows with. We had some lavender that she dried.
Beautiful.
And then rice. So she basically made like a sausage casing of material, put the rice in, and then some dried lavender and sewed them up.
Yeah.
And so we had like 15 of them that she would bring to the yoga studios and put them on people's faces at the end, right?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, stop bringing these gross things back to the house that other people have worn.
These sausages. This is true. I have my own eye pillow because I also feel like, and then I put little drops of essential oil into it, so it's all nice and smelly.
What's your oil of choice?
Lavender.
Oh yeah, me too.
Like lavender all the way. Do you like lavender cookies?
I love lavender.
Me too.
I love it.
But you know how sometimes you can love something but just not in this thing? For me, lavender, I can have it in anything.
Me too. Lavender ice cream? Yes.
Yes.
Lavender tea? Yes. Lavender...
Shortbread?
Yes. lavender creams.
Oh, beautiful.
Amanda will put lavender cream on before like night cream or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's this smell? She goes, you always say it. It's the lavender cream. I'm like, why do you wear anything other than this?
So I got this lavender sleep mask.
Yes.
It's like a thick cream that you put on before bed. And so in the morning when you wake up, your skin looks all dewy.
Sure.
But it's lavender, and it's supposed to be a sleep mask because it helps you, like the lavender helps you sleep. And it's like, it's addictive.
Oh,
it's addictive because it's all creamy and luxurious, but then lavender.
Yeah, it's great. I love. I'm like you. Lavender all day, all night. I don't have a problem with it.
What is like one spice that everyone loves that you're like, not my thing?
Oh, okay, that's a good. For me, it's oregano.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
people they have a heavy hand with oregano.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'll tell you something that I like that few people like.
Okay, fair.
It's rose water or rose
Oh,
flavor.
I love rose water.
I think it's a floral thing, right? But Amanda's like, what's with you and rose water?
I love rose
I
water.
always say I'm an old British woman because I love that kind of stuff.
Really?
And
I mean,
yeah.
it's also very, like I know in Lebanese food, there's this,
Yes.
there's this dessert that they have that has this rose water. It's like, I can't even remember. I'm not even going to like describe it properly.
Sure.
But anyways, it's in a lot of, I think, Eastern cooking, and I love it. I love the taste and texture. Like it feels like you are royalty
Yeah.
when you have it.
A lot of people have issues with rose, and I love it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Rose any day.
But I don't love edible flowers.
Oh, yeah, no.
If you put that in my salad,
No,
it's like,
done.
no.
Bye-bye.
And
Bye-bye.
A, they don't taste great. And B, just because you can eat them doesn't mean
You should
I
eat them.
want to eat them.
And I also don't want to spend another $15 on this dish because you put flowers on it.
Yeah, not for me. I realize it
The
was,
judgment is now coming out.
You and I commiserate and complain a lot on the podcast. I didn't realize until we started doing that. That's something that you and I would do. It's like things we hate, and we just kind of say. There's people probably listening right now, chefs who are listening, who are like, "What are they talking about?"
I know.
People love eating flowers.
Flowers. It's like, well,
What's the spice that you don't enjoy people or the scent or whatever, or the flavor?
I'm not a big nutmeg fan.
Oh, really?
Sorry.
Okay.
It's too musky for me.
Okay,
It's too... Yeah.
So does that just stay in the nutmeg world, or does that go into the pumpkin spice and cinnamon,
I love cinnamon.
Okay.
Pumpkin spice,
Okay, here we
I feel
go.
like over the years I've
Yes.
had a love-hate relationship with the pumpkin spice.
Okay.
When it first was all the rage, actually even before it was all the rage and came out once a season, I was into it.
Sure.
I like some pumpkin pie when it's
Right.
well done
Yeah.
and well made and homemade, etc. But I feel like pumpkin spice has been so overused
Yes.
that, like, I don't want pumpkin spice cookies. I don't want pumpkin spice this, pumpkin spice that,
Sure.
like pumpkin spice tea, No, we ruined it.
Yeah.
We ruined it.
What I can't do is any sort of cookie or cake flavored smells in candles or air fresheners.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah,
what
like
I can
birthday
do.
cake candle?
Like
Ugh.
when you have a candle that smells like something that like apple pie, let's say.
Yeah, no.
Because then all I want to do is eat apple pie, and all
Yeah.
I'm doing is smelling apple pie.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get
Mm-hmm.
it. We're on the same page.
Well, that's pretty much the end of this episode, Nidhi. Let's just remind our listeners, dive-tripping.com.
Yeah.
You'll find it in the show notes. If they want apparel for diving, that's where you'll find it.
Yeah.
If they have a dive question, can they use your socials to ask?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
follow the socials as well at dive_tripping. Once again, I want you to be chilling, so don't worry. You go to our show notes, you'll find them there. Any other sort of thing you want us to know about and of course, anytime you come back, you can always talk about dive tripping. This is not the one and done episode, but is there anything else that you want to convey about it that we haven't talked about?
I mean, I'd love to know what people thought.
Okay.
Honestly, we're still really we're growing and really always into people's feedback. So if you check out the website and you're like, hey, this is cool, or if you check out any of our products, please let us know.
I want a dive tripping bucket hat.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Because I like the way
That's
I
so
look.
funny you're talking about that because we were just talking about this like product development stuff. So
Okay, well, thank you for listening, folks. Once again, if you want the ad-free option to these podcast episodes, if you go to the bottom of our show notes, you can hit the button that'll take you where you can subscribe for $3 Canadian a month. You can listen to our episodes ad-free. And if you are cool with the ads off the top of our show, great. Nidhi, thank you so much for being part of the
such a
Insomnia
pleasure.
Project.
Much love, Marco, and much love to everyone out there. Thank you so much for your support over the years.
And there you go. We hope you were able to listen and sleep.